Welcome back to a special edition of BBISHOPPCM's World. Yeah, well, I'll just dive into it. As a homeowner, there will always be projects that you foresee in the horizon that you just keep pushing off and pushing off and pushing off until you realize, you know what, I've got to just tear that bandage off and do it. Those projects might be pushed off for a number of reasons. Could be cost. Could be complexity. Could be that you just don't want to do the job. And hiring someone is just not a viable option. And especially now, given the pandemic pricing of labor and the lack of skilled people to do the job in the first place. In my case, this job has been pushed off, not really for cost, but because I just didn't feel that my carpentry skills had matured. And I had to do a billion other projects before I had the ambition and the wherewithal to do this one. So I've talked about this in numerous videos over the years. It'll be 3rd year anniversary of owning this house in about 2 weeks. I know, time flies when you're having fun. So the scope of this job is actually quite involved. This is a job that is the result of, and I'm just going to say it, poor engineering on behalf of the home builder. The builder who built this house built dozens of homes in this area. Actually, it's unique. So in a lot of developed communities, it was usually one builder would buy up all the land and then build, cookie cutter houses. This neighborhood, I can identify many different building styles that are not necessarily of the same builder or the same architect. Every house in my neighborhood is just a tad bit different, which is kind of why I love it so much. But that means that the quality of homes does run the gamut. This house was built in 1954, right in the thick of the post-war construction boom, and as a result, many folks were getting into home building as, they just not necessarily experienced, but if you had a hammer and a truck and a little bit of money, you could start a building company, and that's exactly what happened. Well, I've identified this problem in an earlier video, and it was like, I just scratched my head wondering what the hell they were thinking. Basically, what we're looking at right here is the underside of the front step. The front entryway is recessed about 2 feet into the dwelling, and the step is cantilevered over the foundation wall. So as you're walking on up to the front door is directly above this tripled up beam here. The problem was, if you peek up into here, you can actually see the back side of the, I actually used zip board to replace the original sheathing. But what they had done is they sheathed the interior, or the walls of this recessed entryway with tongue and groove board. And they used that board to form, so that board actually went all the way down to about here. And they used that wood to pour, or used it as a form to pour this front step. You can actually see the rebar. They actually used rebar, so that's good. They used the trim boards on the exterior of the home. So this house was actually trimmed, and then this was poured. So because of what they did, and they didn't use any flashing, they didn't use any means of preventing water from penetrating through behind that board once it eventually lost its coat of paint, it caused water to collect. I'm not even sure how to describe this on camera without showing you the outside of the house, but it's dark out and I'm afraid of the dark. But you can't really tell. You see all that mortar, all that cement in there? I put that in. I actually poured it in from the top and it packed. So I had to remove all the original trim boards that were half rotted at the bottom, and I had to actually fill in the gaps with cement. It was just a shit show. I then had to form a cement curbing using mortar, because mortar sticks to cement. I built a curbing around the entryway. Well, let's take a look. I'm gonna just show you what I mean. This is really important, by the way. So I fixed all this about a year and a half ago. But what's happening was I actually had to form this 45 degree curb around the entire step. And then I put these trim boards, which are cut at a 45 degree angle to shed the water away from the perimeter. And it worked. It actually worked. I rebuilt all these walls, re-insulated them, and I used AZEK, which is basically made out of vinyl. But you can see how I cut the ends of the boards down so that water wouldn't want to go this way. It'd go this way as it's dripping off the boards. Now, originally, the trim boards actually went all the way down to the foundation. And then they poured this entire front step. Really stupid. At the same time, I put this really nice storm door in place. I love this door. It's a nice door. But anyway, so that's what's going on. So basically what you have going on here is, you know, once those trim boards, which were actually used to help form the concrete step, once those trim boards were completely rotted away, water would just come pouring in like an avalanche whenever it rained. And it was causing all of this lumber to just take on water. Now, waterlogged lumber is an excellent source of shelter and possibly even food for certain small little critters like termites and ants and such. So those little ants did their job and they destroyed it. They completely destroyed all of this. You can't see the damage at all that has taken hold up here. You really can't see it. But I assure you, the sill is hollow to about here. But we're gonna cut into it and see how bad it is. I can't emphasize this. We know what caused this, and about 1.5 years ago we fixed it. So the damage is done. We just need to make this structurally sound. This is the rim band or rim joist. There's really not much left to it, but you couldn't really tell. The home inspector that I hired, he saw that there was water coming through, but all of this was, at the time he inspected the house, was completely dry. And he did note that there was a little bit of water damage here, but you couldn't really tell without drilling in holes. But he said you might want to look into that. I did buy the house as is, so I don't want to hear it. So let's get on with it. What's the plan? Well, here's what we need to do. We need to start. Tomorrow I'm going to do some thoughtful planning. I'm going to determine where these splices need to go. We're not taking all this out. what we're going to do is we're going to properly and thoughtfully splice in new material. You'll note that this is old-fashioned 2x8 lumber. So I had a sawmill cut me some fresh 2x8 floor joists. I think these are 6 feet in length each, and they were incredibly cheap. Turns out if you buy from a sawmill, you get a really good price. But I told them what I was doing with them, and they said, okay, we know what you need. These are not graded, by the way. These are from a sawmill. But they're basically what I'm taking out. Same material, same type of same species of wood, and it's rough cut lumber, just like we're removing. So what I'm planning on doing is I'm going to splice in one. I'm going to do some demolition first. So let's take it from the top. Obviously, when it comes to obstacles, we have all of them. We have a water line. This is the 3/4 inch line coming from the street, or from the water meter, I should say. So we've got a water line in our way. We've got electrical in our way. Mostly these here, which I'm not too concerned about. I'm just going to remove the staples and get it out of the way. But because we have to deal with the water line coming into the house, I'm going to have to cut it out. So I'm going to temporarily reroute it using PVC, and I've got some shark bite elbows that are going to clamp onto each end. We're going to just we're going to shut the water off. We're going to drain the system, put the elbows in place, put the PVC in place, and then restore water back to the house. Almost shouldn't take me more than half an hour to do that. So once water is restored to the home, we can start demolition. Before I demolish anything or remove anything, of course we've got to untack that doorbell wire. I've got to, again, determine where my splices are going to go. These are structural screws. These are meant to replace lag bolts. These are actually 3/8 lag bolts that you can screw in with a drill. And these are 6 inches, so they can pretty much go through all 3 at the same time. Cool. They make for great clamping, and they are structural. These will probably bend. They won't break. The difference between most wood screws is that they have a tendency to break. They don't have very good ductile strength. These, on the other hand, are supposed to be able to take a load, and they should have some give to them, and they won't snap. Again, they're just like using lag bolts. In fact, the drawing on the box shows a guy using them to build the deck, which you typically would not see anything but nails in that situation. So here's the deal. What we're going to do is we're going to splice. So back to our scenario here. We're going to put a 4-foot section of wood over top that splice once we've put in the new piece. That 4-foot section of wood is going to be screwed in a staggered fashion and adhered with construction adhesive. I'll show you what I'm using for that. So what I've got here is Loctite PL3. It's premium construction adhesive. So we're gonna lay this stuff on in a zigzag back and forth pattern on each piece of wood that we put in. So these screws will clamp those suckers together. This stuff will set up to a nice firm bond within a couple hours. There's one step that I didn't talk about, and that is we're going to have to support the load temporarily using a house jack. Now I have 2 house jacks that I ordered from Lowe's. I've actually put them over there to support the kitchen, to give it a little bit more support because of the weight of the appliances, and it kind of helps to firm up that floor a little bit. So a couple of things I want to mention before we start digging in and tearing this whole thing apart. Number one, there is no bounce in this floor. You would never know. You would never know that there was a problem because the floor is solid, absolutely solid. The floor is straight, absolutely straight, so there's no sagging. So those are not issues that we're correcting. We're just repairing what was lost. But yeah, this is real. This is home ownership, my friends. This is what owning a home is like in real life, because you will have these problems. You could have a brand new home. You could build a home this year, and 5 years later, you find out that the builder screwed something up. Just a little bit longer, and we'll get this out of our way. The pipe is supported by the original hangers, so I'm not worried about it dropping on me. I've got hangers on both sides of this splice. My cutter is a little bit dull. I should have thrown it now. It's a thick pipe. What you do is you rotate it around the pipe a few times, then you put a little more tension on this end piece, and that puts more tension or more pressure on the bit, and you slowly work your way through the pipe. And we're pretty much there now. Almost there. It's going to be water. We're going to get wet. Here it comes. Probably should have put a bucket there. Okay, that's almost empty. Okay. Out of our way. Save that for later. Now these shark bite fittings are one of the most expensive parts of the job. I bought 4 of them, I only need 2. But my God, these are like, I think these are like $13 a piece. These things right here. And they work. I don't trust them, but they work. I'm gonna rattle that on with a mallet. Doesn't feel too tight. I mean, they'll do the job, but like I said, I just don't trust them. Put one on the other side. Then we'll put our splice in there. Not our splice, but our PVC redirect. There we go. Get up there. There we go. I ain't going nowhere. And I'll just go around the other way. That's probably not going to work. It's not enough. I might need to do the full thing, the full meal deal, where I use the 45s and everything else, because I don't want this in my way at all. I don't want it in the way of the saws. I don't want it in the way of anything. I was hoping a 10-foot could loop around and connect to that side. No, we need more. All right, well, our redirect is done. That gives us enough room to cut out however much floor joist we need to, and do our splices unencumbered, I hope. Okay, now to restore water supply to the home. Of course, I got to find the little cap thingy that goes on that thingy there. All right, progress has been made. So here's what we got. I got the sill out.
What's left of it anyway. Look at that. All dry rot. And look, it's got little critters living in it. What was that? Yeah, well, you're homeless now, motherfucker. Yeah, I think we still have some termites. I might have to get the house treated for like termites and stuff. I don't know what that was, but it's been evicted. So here's the deal. And all of this was caused by water damage. And that's where that was. This is the rim joist. We're going to cut this out very carefully. I got wires going here. The rest of the sill doesn't look bad. I mean, it doesn't look great, but it doesn't look bad. I'm not going to cut it back any further than I have to. You can see there's just a little bit of damage down inside there. I think that's old damage. I'm not going to replace it. But what I am going to do is waterproof this wall. I'm going to take some, while I have it apart, I'm going to put some rubber membrane there. This is the back side of our brick wall. You can see there's tar paper on it, but obviously that doesn't do shit anymore. So, yeah. I'm probably going to have to call Terminex or somebody to come in just to spray the house. I think we have what could potentially be a still somewhat active problem. So you want to stand clear of it because it's going to come down a little at a time. You don't want to damage the subfloor above me. Get this stupid wire out of it. I had to run the saw blade between the boards because there's nails in between. See, I don't want to cause that floorboard to push up at all. If I can avoid it, because that can damage my hardwood. So. Let's see if maybe I can pull this thing down. Grab my saber saw. At least we can get in there now pretty easily. Get one of those oscillating tools. That would make this a little easier. Okay, I'm gonna run it down this way. Stop it! I give it a good yank. This is the largest section we're taking out, and then the rest of them will be much smaller. This is we're probably kind of at the worst part of this. There we go. Now I just got the fucking water meter wire in my way, which I can't really do anything with that. some goo. No, it's still nailed into whatever's left of the rim joist. See if I can pull this down. My way. Yeah, there we go. What's going to happen is if I damage the meter wire, if I can't replace it myself, I'll just call the city and say I thought it was a phone line. Can you fix it for me? Okay. Now we're getting somewhere. Yes, ma'am. Now we got to cut this one right here. And this one, let me show you. This has got some spikes nailed into it, which we have to cut. So, look at these heavy-duty motherfuckers. We got to cut those. Zing, zing. We're going to cut it right here. I might just take this out as one piece. I don't know. But I'm gonna vacuum all that out. Get all this water damage. But you can see that end of the joist is fine. We've got to cut all these nails so that the new joist doesn't get in the way of them, or vice versa. This one's split pretty bad, but we're going to cut it right there. And yeah, look at those spikes. Holy crap. Maybe I can pull them out with a claw hammer, actually make it a little easier. Oh boy. Okay, we got the second one in, removed, and then we have one more to go. But look at all the freaking nails. They hammered the shit out of it. See, back then they didn't use gussets or anything like that. They just used nails, and by George, it worked. I mean, the house hasn't crumbled yet. I mean, even with all this water damage, it still hasn't, you know, shown even the slightest signs of failure. But that's just how they used to do it back in the day. Okay, so we removed the sheathing, I'm sorry, the rim joist, and we removed the sheathing to expose the brick wall behind it. There is a lot of damage to the sill, and I mean, I could probably justify replacing another 2 feet of it, but that's not what I'm here to do right now. The sill is fine otherwise. It doesn't show any signs of any failure, really. And we know what caused the damage, and we've stopped it. So now again, I'm going to focus on healing and preventing it from happening again. So this is all going to be lined with bitumen from here down. So any water that comes in, any moisture, will stay on that side of the barrier, and it will actually be guided down the wall. So there's going to be bitumen on the surface of the foundation wall. I'll show you what I mean when I do it. I got a whole bunch left over from when I did this project. I don't see any signs of any water intrusion of any kind from this repair right now. It all looks pretty up and up. So again, we found the problem. Now let's start healing. And that's it, my friends. I was gonna put plywood on this side as a scab over, but I can't, because even though the lumber I bought was thicker than normal lumber, it's still not thick enough. So what I ended up doing is, because I ended up with a major gap in the middle, if I had put one of these new ones in the middle, it would be way off. Luckily, I had some good lumber from the old joists that I pulled out. I had one that I cut out. It had a lot of good wood left on it. So I was able to reuse it, thankfully. Those are 6-inch headlock screws, spaced about every 6 inches or so. I think it's gonna hold. I really do. I would be shocked if it didn't. I've also got construction adhesive between the boards for additional moral support. I've got vapor barrier right there that goes all the way around the rim joist that I pieced in. And oh, you might be wondering why that joist looks like somebody gnawed on it. It's because it was me. I used a 1/2-inch drill bit to basically zipper that other board out of there, basically punching holes in it, and it did kind of eat away a little bit at the side there, but that's not an issue structurally. All right, I think it's time we take the weight off of these posts and see what we've done. I don't want to deal with. Oh, speaking of bigger problems that I don't want to deal with, Now that I know how difficult it is to get this inner one out, I'm not sure if I'm going to do the other side yet. It's going to be a bitch, to put it bluntly, to get this piece out. I'm going to try, but it's going to be a bitch. I've got to vacuum all this stuff out. We're going to see just how bad things really are. All right. Jack number 1. It's going to make some creaking sounds as the weight transfers, but that's okay. That's fine. Spread this thing down. Clear that. Go. Well, it feels solid. It sounds pretty solid. What do you guys think? You heard me jumping. Did you see it moving? So I just burned through like 5 demolition blades on this shit. What I'm trying to do is cut this free. So what I did is I started by using a method similar to mining coal. I can't get to it from this side because I'd have to tear this wall apart. I don't want to do that because I just built that, you know, like a year and a half ago. Can't get to it from this side because we aren't replacing this joist. It's not that bad. We found the problem. We fixed the problem. We're not worried about it. This one right here, this is the problem. Now, getting it out, holy shit. So what I did is I bought a 1-inch by like 15-inch paddle bit. It's right there. And I started drilling holes up to the subfloor. Boom, 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 boom. And then I took my saber saw and I just went right down the middle. Burned through countless blades because they keep going dull on me. This is tough wood. This is old-fashioned. Look at the ring. Look at the ring gap on these. This is old lumber. You can't buy this stuff anymore. It's very dense, so it's hard to cut. Had to cut through some major spikes, nails. It's just been one. Oh my god, this has been a freaking nightmare. Just this one. But we're there. I finally got it loose. Oh yeah, and dumbass me, when I built that wall on the other side of here, I actually ran the screws into this for the trim boards. And so that's kind of what's holding me up. Just trying to cut all that out without damaging any of the work I did. I'm probably going to have to put another coat of masonry sealer on the perimeter of this step. But anyway, I want you to take a good look at this though. You'll notice that the damage is far less on this side than it is on the other side. But what's disconcerting to me is I'm looking at this brick right here, and the back side of this brick is damp. Not a great thing to see. I'm going to have Amelia test the floor for us. I want to see if it deflects. You know, look at that. It's deflecting here, but not the beam that I fixed. I want you to go to the left of the door. A little bit of deflection, but that's pretty normal. I want you to go over by the end of the desk. Of the desk. To the left of the desk. Yeah. See the deflection there? It's no different from these. Now come back to the center of the door. Above my head. Okay. What we're going to do is we're going to drive a few of those long screws in here. And that'll firm this up. Okay, you're good. Thank you. Yeah. So that's easy. I'm noticing that these are moving independent of one another, so we're going to just drive a few 4.5 inches just right into there.
Oh, I have a question.
But anyway, take a good look at this. This corner, I'm talking to the camera. This corner is not really rotted. If you look at that rim joist over there, it's solid, totally solid, other than the hole I drilled. But the back side of that brick is wet, and that is a little bit bothersome. I'm going to have to take a look at the other side of this wall and check for any missing or loose mortar. And that's why this is damp. It's not coming in over here, it's coming in from the wall. So, that's something that I'm glad I found, but, you know, I don't love that. You know what I'm saying? But it looks pretty good compared to the other side. The other side, all of this was gone. Just completely gone. Well, here's where we're at. So this is all structurally sound. These joists are now sitting on a solid block of wood, whereas they weren't before, but now they are. So they're resting on that. This little piece here is serving more as a filler piece until I can get some proper anchors in there. So because of the narrow gap here, the narrow space, I can't get my drill and a 6-inch timber lock screw in there. It just can't happen. So what I've got to do is buy or rent a low profile screw gun. And that will allow me to get right up in there. I've been meaning to get one. Maybe now is the time I give myself an early Christmas present or something. And we get one of those. I foamed the gaps here because we've been having a draft for years. That draft is no more. Now I want to show you guys some neat stuff. So we know that there's termites or ants that were at play here. I'm thinking ants, but could be termites. This is a piece of sheathing that I pulled out of the first section that we did. And this is the side that would have been facing the sill, which, as we know, is completely toast. Which we replaced. It's all good now. But look at what they did. They were tunneling between two pieces of wood. What they did is they bored into this. Now this is the softest of the two. This is probably a soft, cheap pine board, so it's probably easier to tunnel into and to make their little burrows. And made two of them, and you can see the little tunnel. I find this fascinating. Just nature doing its job. Nature is doing what nature does. They find a damp location, the right kind of wood, the right conditions, and they make their homes. They make a city. You know, they're doing exactly what humans do, only on a smaller scale. You know, humans destroyed their habitats, and they're destroying humans' habitats. That's just how. Nature's an unforgiving bitch. But anyway, so yeah, this is that. I want to show you this too. This is that last joist end piece that we yanked out. This is all dry rot right here. But what has me concerned, now dry rot coupled with ant damage. This is the sill. This is what we saw from the inside, and so it actually sat like this. Okay, this is how it sits in the real world. But you can see how that bottom of that sill was still wet. It is actually still damp, and there's still stuff living in it, little critters. It's still very damp. you can see the water coming out of it. What I don't know is how that water got there. I have never, since I repaired the water leaks, I have found no evidence of water coming in. Nothing. No telltale drip marks. And I always look. Every time it rains, I check. Because I want to know, is it fixed? And my sources say, yes, it is fixed. So we don't know how the water got in. All we know is that it's still getting in somehow. Or that could be water from yesteryear. We don't really know. All I can say is this. I have done everything I can to seal it. I'm going to take a look at the wall. I noticed some spalling on the inside of that wall, on the brick wall. Now, when a brick starts to spall or flake, and it's wet or damp, there's a good chance that water's coming in, possibly through the mortar. So we need to take a look at the mortar on that wall and possibly repoint it. Now let's take a look at it now. So while I was doing the demolition part of this, after I pulled the sill out, I looked on the floor and I found this. This is, as far as I know, a Saint Benedict medallion. I'm going to get it in better lighting so you can actually see it. These were common in Catholic households as a home blessing token, or some part of the whole blessing of the home ritual. And there we go. Flip the other side. You can see a better image of this online. They're easy to find. But what's unique about this is, so normally they're placed in a couple of locations. I looked it up, and it turns out that people will bury them at the four corners of the property, at the base of the foundation. They'll be hung from a doorknob, usually the entryway, or placed above the entryway, or they can be placed under the door sill. There's a variety of places where they can be. I found this one under the sill, which means that it was placed there before the house existed. It's always been here, and it always will be. I'm not going to change that. I'm going to put them right back where I found them. Now, I think there was another one over there. I saw something shiny and metallic get sucked up into the vacuum while I was cleaning. I think it was a second medallion. Oh, in other news, I did some homework on how to tell what the difference between carpenter ants and termite ants, damage that they cause. How to tell one from the other. And I'm happy to report that this appears to be carpenter ant damage. The key difference is carpenter ants don't eat the wood. They live in it. So they're boring holes, smooth bored holes, to live and reproduce in. If this were termite damage, there would be a lot more destruction of the wood. Far more destruction, because termites eat the wood. So of the two, you're better off with carpenter ants, and they're fairly easy and straightforward, I think, to get rid of. So, like I said, I'm still going to call a pest control company to come in and check it out, get their opinion on this. Whatever their fee is, I'll pay it, whatever. It's cheaper to pay now than to deal with later. But once I get a handle on it, I'm going to try to figure out how to maintain it so that it doesn't get like this. They actually look for wet wood. So I think that now that the wood is dry, it shouldn't be as much of a problem. We fixed the problem. Well, it is the next day, and I've got the last of my plumbing work is now done. So what I've done today is I went ahead and I repaired or put this pipe back in place using these pipe coupler fittings, and hung it back up where it belongs. These screws are just temporary just to hold it in place while I was working. But So far, so good, no leaks. I've killed off the hose. I just shut the hose bibs off from the inside while I was flushing the line out. Once you've soldered a connection like this, as soon as you turn the water on, the water comes through like blacker than the ace of spades. It's quite a sight to see. But yeah, that happened. So I wasn't going to just stop there, because I had one more gate valve to replace. Let's take a look. I actually dropped it down here somewhere. Or no, wait, what did I do with it? Oh, there it is. So what I did is I replaced the last gate valve after the water meter. Well, no, there's still two on the supply shutoff. I can't do those myself. I need a plumber to do them, unfortunately. So what I did is I cut all this. I didn't cut. See, when you sweat fit pipes, you can unsweat fit them. It's pretty cool. So I removed the original elbow. This is this guy right here. We took that off, and we unsweat fit the old valve off of the line going up to the shower valve, and put in a brand new quarter turn ball valve. I already did the other side because one morning I was down here and I looked up and I noticed everything was wet. These valves, if you've got these in your house, they are a liability. 100%. These valves are a liability. This is a gate valve. Look at how crusty it is inside. The thing with these, and see how it's all green by the packing nut? These valves are guaranteed to leak. 100%. They will leak. And if they're not leaking, wait a minute. They will. No, in all seriousness, if you touch them, if you open or close them, they're practically guaranteed to leak. It is. I don't know what the purpose of these valves is. They just don't hold back. You can tighten the packing nut if it's actively leaking, but there's no guarantee that that'll work. And this valve is not that old. It was made in China. Well, surprise, surprise. This valve is not 60 years old. This one is probably 10, 15, maybe 20 at the most. That's it. And I replaced it with a nice quarter-turn American valve. American made, actually, no, I think they're made in China now, actually. But you can see the blue handle up there. You sell those at Lowe's. Now, I do not use shark bite fittings for anything permanent. As a homeowner, I feel that those are just, they're homeowner bait. They're so easy to use that they expect every homeowner to use them, and they do. And it's sad, because sweat fitting pipes is a lot more satisfying. And it lasts a lot longer. I mean, I've got sweat fit joints in this house that are as old as the house itself, and they aren't leaking. Most of them are actually original. So, anyways, so we're going to just go ahead and clean this stuff up. We can start cleaning all that up. I'm going to have to do some wiring. I'm not going to bother putting that in the video, but we got to do some wiring. While we've got the world torn apart, might as well do it, right? So, anyways, that's it for now. Oh, one more thing. I bought a right angle drill. I bought one of these. I will probably not use this for another year or two. These are a very specialty drill, but you know what? When you need one, you don't have one. So now I got one. So I'll never need it again. It uses the same 20-volt packs as my existing DeWalt drill driver, which is probably due for replacement anyway. But this is a nice little... This is not a brushless. It is a brush drill, and I actually kind of like it. I was able to drive in those 6-inch screws pretty easily. The trick with those is they use I think it's like a 10-point driver bit, and they're hard to get in. This one, it cammed out just as I was about to send it home. The thing is, the trick is with these, is you've got to you've got to keep a nice, firm, equal pressure. You can't have the bit walk like this. As soon as it goes like this in relation to the head, forget it. It's going to start stripping. And once the splines are stripped out, it's done. You're done. So I got a cup. I got 1, 2, 3. I got at least 3 in there. And I'm going to have to pick up another box and I'll drive in a few more. But at least it's structurally sound. I don't have to worry about it anymore. I'm happy. Everybody's happy. I also drove in a couple of 4.5 inchers on this ledger right here. And, well, it's a header. Whatever you want to freaking call it. It is what it is. I drove in a few more on this. So the first thing I noticed was as soon as I did that, this section of the floor, it is the firmest section of flooring in the entire freaking house. Right here. Whereas before, it was kind of on par with the rest of it. Now it's solid as a rock. So, hey, I'm happy. Alright, now I gotta fix up all this wiring. So, until then, happy motoring. Well, it's over. It's done. It's a done deal. Everything's back where it needs to be. Shelves are back. Plumbing is back. Electrical is done. While I had all this away from the wall, I took this opportunity to upgrade the wiring going to the 2 outlets in the living room on this wall. So they are now grounded. And so that's just a continuing, ongoing project to get grounded outlets in this house where there should be. That's going to take some time, but eventually they'll all be grounded, I hope. So that's it. I mean, it's all done. There's no water leaks. I'm not sure if I got this on the video or not, but the quarter turn valve for the shower is installed. Replaced a, I did talk about that. And I held up one of the gate valves that I yanked out, and I said, these are bad. So, that's it. And, oh, yes, and these columns, which I initially purchased to do the job, I had planned on afterwards, after this was all said and done, I was going to use them to help support the kitchen floor to give it a little more stiffness. You've got some very heavy appliances on this floor, and it's being supported, in a way that's not, well, it's totally normal, but it's just, it could be better. So we're probably gonna order one more of these columns, and I'm gonna put it over there on the end. I don't think it's that necessary, really, but anyway. So there you have it, my friends. That's how you do it. Replacing it or splicing in joist ends, it can be done, and it can be done cheaply. If I hired someone to do this, it would have cost me many thousands of dollars. For their time, materials were minimal, but we'll see how it holds up. I'm going to have the house definitely sprayed for ants next, probably in the early spring. I'm going to call up a pest company to come in and just give me some peace of mind. I want termites and I want ants to be eradicated. I don't think I have termites, but I definitely have ants, that's for sure. And what we'll probably end up doing is drilling holes in the mortar at the base of the wall. Probably drill some holes, and they'll probably spray like a poison in there just to prevent them from coming back. And if they don't come back, this house will never have a problem. If they do come back, we will have a very, very serious problem on our hands in a couple of years, maybe a couple decades. Replacing the entire sill can be done. It is totally doable. It is not as hard as it sounds, but it's not a job I want to do. But what you've got to do is you've got to basically build a temporary support wall, probably a couple feet away from the actual foundation. And you've got to go in there and you've got to cut with a saber saw any nails going in from the top. And you've also got to cut, there's going to be some support bolts that are actually in the foundation wall, or it could be rebar in this case. but the sill is actually tied down to the foundation with bolts. You've got to cut those off. It's a big job, but it's totally doable. You don't have to tear the whole house down. So that's it for now. Thank you all for tuning in. Oh yes, I did get the doorbell working again. I wasn't really sure how it was wired, and then I just started putting wires together, and hey, it works. I can't complain. Till then, folks.